Alright, this video is for all the 5.4 liters and the 4.6 liters out there. Ford. This is a common coil pack issue. Okay? Coil packs are always a common problem. Well, these are the E3 spark plugs for the Ford. Actually turned out to be pretty decent plugs. Here's your longer shank plug for the newer 5.4. Anyway, as you can tell, I've been through this quite a few times. Most of these coil packs are actually good. Motorcraft brand, some off-brand, Chinese brand, Motorcraft, let's see, Motorcraft, Chinese. Alright, anyway, whether you have an XL coil pack, Chinese coil pack, whatever you have, regardless of whether you have the newer style shorty boot long shank plug for the newer 5.4 with the PI heads, or you have the old 90s between 97 and 99 5.4 liters with the non-PI heads. Regardless, this counts for all of the modular Ford engines that are the 4.6 or the 5.4. Your Expeditions, Crown Vics, all that stuff, your Lincolns, even your 4 valves. Anything that uses this coil pack style. Okay? Your earlier models, pay attention here, have a wide tab. See that tab in there? The tab right here is wide. And your newer models have the skinnier tab there. Well, they make all aftermarket coil packs with the same plug base, but they use the skinny tab to accommodate the wide tab. The early models use the wide tab, so you can't use early model coil packs on a newer 5.4 liter. I call them first and second gen. But anyway, non-PI 97 and 99 coil packs won't necessarily work if you get them used. So they make all the coil packs today with the skinny tab terminals, because obviously you can't fit a wide peg in a skinny hole. So that's that. And trying to ohm these things out are next to impossible to get a good resistance value to find out if they're bad or good. They're all going to do something. Let me show you an example of a bad coil pack, or a coil pack that's got a problem. When you get a heat crack like that on that Motorcraft, see that crack with that line? And there's another crack there going straight through the coil pack. Now here's the thing that I really want to make a video about. Okay, this is the crankshaft positioning sensor located down at the bottom of the crank on most of the 5.4s and the 4.6 liters, 3 valve, 4 valve, 2 valve. They detect whether or not these coil packs fail, and they send a check engine light code to your engine through the computer, through the PCM, through Ford's PCM programming. But here's the kicker. Intermittent missing will drive you nuts. It'll have you running out spending money trying to buy a coil pack and trying to locate the coil pack to change. Or you'll send it to the mechanic shop to change the coil pack. Before you do that, I would suggest to you that you check the boot that goes inside the intake. Now it's inside the head. This boot ring right here, it's supposed to seal up real nice and tight with contact with a silicone grease, and it's supposed to prevent moisture and water from falling down in. Well, let me tell you something. Ford has a really bad design where the intake gaskets are really, really close, where the water jackets are and stuff like that. They're really, really close to the spark plug boots. I mean, if you have a seepage or anything like that, you'll have a problem like that. If you have water sitting on top of the head that's traveling between the intake, let's just say you just pressure washed your engine and you got a mist, or you ran through a rainstorm and you got a mist. Your fan sucked in a mist of water, and or your air conditioner is running and your condenser I mean, your dryer and all that is accumulating water, and it's dripping onto the head by the fan blowing it onto the head as you're driving. And you start getting an intermediately miss, or an intermittent miss. And you're stumbling and sputtering in overdrive. Once you get on the highway, you start sputtering and shaking, but you don't have a definite miss all the time. Chances are your coil pack is still good. It's not bad. You have a water vapor that's caught in between the boot and the aluminum head. So what happens is, and this has happened to me so many times, whether it be pressure washing or just changing and flushing the coolant and trying to flush out the heater coil and things like that. You'll have a boot like this sitting down in the head, and then you'll have the plug like this. Well, there's a valley down here where the plug screws into the head. It's cone shaped to accommodate the plug like this. So it's cone shaped, and water will sit all the way up to here, and it will confuse the heck out of you, because if water travels past here, it'll sit between where the lip seals to the head and come up to about right here on the plug. At an idle, all is well, no problems. You won't notice. And in my occasion, I'll tell you what happened to me many a times. I've gotten one side of the head wet, one whole side, cylinders, whatever, 1, 2, 3, or skip a number, whatever you want to say. So passenger side, the head got soaked with water, and water traveled down over time past these boots, even though you think they're supposed to be sealed, and it filled up each cylinder, each spark plug hole to about right here, to the past the shank of the plug. And it sat like that, and the truck ran quarter tank of gas, idling, and sometimes trying to run it. And I had an intermediate miss constantly, and I couldn't figure out what the problem was. I pulled coil packs. I found water on the boot that was dried up, and coolant. I'd wipe that coolant off, I'd stick it back in there, the truck would stop missing, it'd run great. As soon as I put it in drive or reverse and bump it around a bit and drive, it would start missing again. I'd pull this boot or this spark plug coil pack or any other ones on that side, and I'd find more water. Well, that threw me for a loop. Well, what was happening is I was building myself a steam bath inside of there from that water that was sitting down on the bottom. Okay, this is a common problem and people don't realize it, and I just want to point it out. And it would build up water to here. And I'm telling you this because I just solved this problem the other day. And so it would build up water to here or to here, and it just doesn't get hot enough inside the head to dry that water out fast enough. Not that much water. That would take days or even longer, and you'd have to pull the coil pack out and leave it out. So my point to you is that unless you have a dead miss, and I mean a dead miss, and it stays that way for a length of time, then you might throw a check engine code. But don't be so certain that it's a bad coil pack until you pull it and see that there is or is not water on the boot or a moisture built up around the boot. And if that happens, do not do what I did and remove the boot, clean the boot, and put it back in and expect it to not fail again. Remove the spark plug. Remove the spark plug, let the remaining fraction of an ounce of water drain down into the cylinder head, and possibly even take some brake cleaner or carb and choke, and spray it with a straw into that spark plug hole in the cylinder head. And then, just for good measure, turn it over with that spark plug out and the coil pack off for a few revolutions, just until it fires up, and then kill it before it can throw a code, and blow out what's in that chamber, and then put your boot back in. And this is just a tip for the 5.4 and the 4.6 liter about all of these common missing, intermittently missing, non-throwing code 5.4, 4.6 liter problems that happen with these coil packs, these coilover plugs. And I'm sure it happens with a lot of other vehicles, but the 5.4 is famous for this happening. And it happens after a coolant change, or AC water is building up extra condensation, or you ran through a rainstorm, or something like that, and your truck starts missing. Chances are you have water that passed the boot, and it happens more frequently than you know, and people just get upset and they go out and they buy coil packs, or they bring it to the automotive shop and they change out a coil pack, or they change all eight coil packs. And if you buy the Chinese coil packs, yeah, I guess you get by cheap, but if you go and buy good name brand Ford coil packs or new old stock, you're going to pay a fortune. So my point is, don't be so sure that you lost a coil pack. Check condensation inside the boot. Okay, it's very important to do that, because that's why I have all these accumulated coil packs that actually are good, besides these cracked ones that came with a used engine, and they may even work. The point is that it's very rare for me to find a dead coil pack in the 10 years, actually 12 years I've been fooling with Tritons, 4.6 liters and 5.4 liters. And I know they call the 4.6 liters just the 4.6, and they don't really call them Tritons, but they still make pickup trucks where they call a 4.6 liter a Triton. They're all modular engines. They're from the same family, all the way up to 2014, and that's that. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood, if you're having coil pack problems and you're missing. And here's the kicker. I'm going to tell you one last time. One last thing about it. The kicker about it all is that at the end of what I discovered was I had 3 on the passenger side that were loaded with that much water. Okay, that was from a coolant flush, constant coolant flush, and I pulled the heater hoses off to flush the heater core out because it was dirty and clogged. Well, this side of the engine, even though these boots were new that I had on there, still leaked past somehow, I guess overnight, into the valley. And when I pulled on that side of the engine, one of the plugs, I found water. I cleaned it, I put it back in. I thought I solved the problem because it didn't miss at an idle. Well, here's the kicker. The kicker of it all is that I actually dropped the voltage of the computer down to where my any plug that I pulled and stuck a coil pack on, even a used coil pack or a new coil pack that was new, and sat it on the engine and turned it over and watched it arc, it was arcing orange. A plug is supposed to arc blue or purple, okay, for a good fire. And it was arcing orange, and I didn't understand why. I thought I had a voltage drop on the computer. Well, I checked the voltage going into the coil pack, and sure enough, the voltage had dropped on the computer. So I searched for a grounding issue or something else on the engine. Long story short, it was that 3 other coil packs were arcing out inside their respected spark plug hole and causing the rest of the other remaining 4 and 5, the 5th one in the back, to drop voltage. This meant that when I was traveling at a high RPM or revving up under a load under a high RPM, the engine didn't have the power that it should have had, even though it wasn't fully missing, dead missing on an obvious miss. So the engine wasn't rumbling at a dead miss. It seemed like it was running on all 8, but each one was dragging down the power source for the rest. So although it wouldn't throw a check engine, nor would it indicate a dead miss, because I'd sit there and pull each one of them off under a load, and I didn't find a difference between any one of them. Well, 3 out of the 8 were causing the computer to, it was drawing too much power from the computer, I guess from the arc out, causing the vehicle to lose horsepower. It took forever to get up to 60 miles an hour, and I didn't understand why, and I'm not throwing a check engine code. I thought maybe it had gotten something wet in the computer system or in the wiring, so I started pulling plugs and checking all that, and I discovered that no, I was actually robbing the water. The minerals in the water were shorting out and robbing in the coolant, were robbing all of the power from the rest of the coil pack. So the engine couldn't actually perform at a good RPM. It couldn't rev up as high as it should under a load. And that'll throw you for a serious loop if that ever happens to you. So if you get 3 in a row, or 3 miscellaneous all over that are doing that because they're arcing out because of water, it will drain the computer down, and it won't always throw a check engine code, because mine never threw one check engine code. And I double checked my crankshaft positioning sensor. So for 4.6l you need to know this about the coil packs. Okay, they seem to have the most problem out of all the vehicles, 4 cylinders and V8s on other vehicles, coil over plug engine. The 5.4 liter and the 4.6 liter seem to have the most common problem with that. And the coil packs, 99% of the time, are still good. But the problem is you have water or moisture, and that will cause that serious of a problem. So I hope this helps people out there with 5.4, 4.6 liter modular engines figure out what the heck is wrong when you start getting stumbling and sputtering and missing. Now, if you have a dead miss and you have a check engine code, yeah, it's a possibility, and you haven't changed the coil packs since you bought the vehicle, there's a chance that you probably have the first bad coil pack that I've seen since I've seen one that cracked from heat. So that wouldn't apply to you necessarily. But I'm going to tell you from experience, water is a serious enemy to these coil packs. And I know you're supposed to use mineral water and all that stuff for coolant and all that, but it doesn't always mean that it doesn't mix with dirt on the top of the head and then creep its way into there, and now it has minerals in it from the old aluminum or the scum from driving and all of that has now entered into the spark plug hole to create a rainforest inside of there of moisture that would just sit there and arc out against itself and not perform like it's supposed to and send a nice blue spark. So I hope that helps. Like I said, I'm reiterating, that has been my experience with Ford's coil pack design and the design of the modular head and engine. That goes for PI and non-PI heads. All right.